Hey, let's go! Fuck, sit down! Let's go! Sit down!
Dennis Schroeder might just be one of the most confusing players in the entire basketball world right now. On paper, the man looks unstoppable. A two-time MVP at both the World Cup and Eurobasket with Germany. A real floor general who steps up when the pressure hits hardest. But here's the wild part. His actual NBA career tells a completely different story. Over the last 5 years, he's been passed around like a hot potato, bouncing through 9 different teams. It's like no one wants to hold on to him for long. Every time it feels like he's finally settled, the same thing happens. Everything falls apart again. Take Sacramento, for example. They gave him a $45 million contract over 3 years, expecting him to be a major part of their rebuild. Yet just 6 months later, reports say they were already shopping him around the trade market. That's not just bad luck. That's a clear pattern repeating itself over and over again. No matter where Schroeder lands,
made his debut. Michael was with me.
the same story keeps playing out. And now, things have gotten even messier. Schroeder's been suspended for 3 games after a heated tunnel confrontation with Luka Doncic. Reports claim he even tried to take a swing at him, turning what should have been a regular post-game walk-off into a full-blown controversy. Luka's reaction? He threw shade online, posting a sarcastic line followed by a string of laughing emojis. Within minutes, the post exploded all over social media. Fans went crazy, and the clash instantly became another headline moment. During the game, the tension between them was already off the charts. Both were talking trash, locking eyes, and going back and forth like it was personal. Then Luka dropped the ultimate diss. He brought up the infamous Lakers contract rejection. That $84 million 4-year deal from Los Angeles that Schroeder turned down has haunted him ever since. It's one decision that turned into one of the league's biggest memes, and Luka knew exactly how to twist that knife.
Suspended 3 games Saturday for confronting and attempting to strike Luka Doncic after the Kings lost to the Lakers back on December 28th. They jawed at each other. You can see it all here. That's Luka basically telling him, you should have signed that contract.
When Luka brought that up mid-game, it wasn't just trash talk. It was a cold reminder of the moment that changed Dennis Schroeder's whole career. That one decision still hangs over him every single time he steps onto the court. Schroeder's never been the type to just laugh it off and walk away. If someone crosses the line or shows him disrespect, he's going to let everyone know right then and there. That fire inside him is what makes him a fierce competitor, but it's also the same thing that keeps pulling him into drama after drama. Even back in his early FDA days, that emotion was always right on the surface. You could see it when games got intense, especially during his heated matchups with rivals like Luka Doncic. That edge, that deep hunger to be respected, has always fueled him. He's carried himself like the main guy, the one setting the pace, controlling the game, and calling the shots like a true leader. But that same alpha mentality has sparked plenty of friction, even within his own squad. He's had tense sideline arguments with his national team coach, Gordon Herbert, moments where neither man would back down even an inch. Those confrontations prove that when Schroeder believes he's right, he's not budging for anyone. And now, that same fiery energy has followed him straight to Sacramento, just with new faces and higher expectations. The Kings didn't bring him in to play backup minutes or fill an empty roster spot. No way. He was supposed to be their big offseason move, the veteran leader to bring order, experience, and confidence to a young, talented locker room. Sacramento saw him as the voice of structure, the steady hand who'd guide their offense and keep everyone locked in. That $45 million contract wasn't just money, it was a promise, a declaration that they trusted him to lead the charge. But just a few months into the season,
and then he put hands on Luka. I don't want to put a lot of gas on it because it's a weeks old story, but it's scenarios to do that, and I'm hearing he found it.
That vision's already flipped upside down. Schroeder's role has shifted completely, and not in the way anyone expected. Dennis Schroeder's gone from running the show as the Kings' starting point guard to watching younger players take his spot right in front of him. Now, word around the league is spreading fast. Sacramento's quietly listening to trade offers, testing the waters to see what kind of deal they can pull off before the deadline hits. And let's be real, when a team starts doing that behind closed doors, it usually means one thing. They've already realized something inside the system just isn't clicking. On paper, Schroeder still looks solid, around 13 points and 6 assists per game. The same steady production he's been putting up for years. But the problem goes way deeper than numbers. The Kings have been sliding hard, stuck near the bottom of the Western Conference. And when a team starts falling like that, everything in the front office flips. Suddenly, the long-term plans go out the window. And all that matters is flexibility, cutting losses and saving face fast. That's when the ghosts of Toronto start creeping back in. The chapter that fans call the Schroeder problem. After Fred VanVleet walked away, the Raptors brought Dennis in to bring order to the chaos, to steady the ship of a team caught between two worlds. And to his credit, he did exactly what they asked. He ran the offense with control, kept things smooth, and played smart, efficient basketball. He brought leadership, direction, and calm energy when things were shaky. He was the adult in the room when everyone else was scrambling. But here's the twist. It was never really Dennis who was the problem. Toronto itself was split down the middle, torn by indecision. They couldn't decide whether to chase playoff glory or go all in on rebuilding around their young stars. Schroeder got stuck right in the middle of that power struggle, a veteran trying to hold balance in a team that couldn't make up its mind. And when the Raptors finally committed to their youth movement, the message couldn't have been clearer. No matter how good Schroeder was, his veteran leadership didn't fit the new direction anymore. Suddenly, the same traits that once made him valuable, his experience, discipline, and steady mindset, turned into reasons to move him out. Just like that, Dennis went from being the trusted leader to the expendable veteran, the odd man out again. Then came the Brooklyn chapter, what looked like a lifeline for Dennis Schroeder. At first, it felt like the perfect reset. He hit the court like a man reborn, reminding everyone why he was once seen as one of the league's top 4 generals. His swagger was back, his rhythm was sharp, and his confidence with the ball was shining brighter than ever. For a stretch, he was playing some of the cleanest, most composed basketball of his entire career. It was like he finally found the missing piece, proving that all he ever needed was the right fit. But just when it looked like he finally escaped the chaos, that same old storm started creeping back in. The whispers began, the uncertainty returned, and before long, his so-called fresh start started looking shaky once again. Before Dennis could even finish unpacking his bags in Brooklyn, he was already on the move, this time to Golden State. On paper, it sounded like a dream match. The Warriors system is all about rhythm, motion, and pure chemistry. A basketball symphony built on non-stop movement, backdoor cuts, and instant connection between teammates. But here's where it got tricky. That system doesn't exactly suit a guard who thrives with the ball in his hands. Schroeder's game is about control, direction, and commanding the floor, not running around screens waiting for a pass. The fit never really clicked, and soon enough he was on the move again, heading out to Detroit for what was supposed to be another fresh start, but didn't quite feel like one. Detroit was a completely different story, but not necessarily a better one. The Pistons were deep in rebuild mode, focused on grooming their young core and building for the future, not spotlighting veteran guards like Dennis. He did his job, ran the offense, stayed professional, and gave them solid minutes. But it was clear from day one he wasn't part of their long-term plans. In the eyes of the front office, Schroeder wasn't a cornerstone, he was a bridge. Someone to keep things steady until the next generation was ready to take over. And just like that, his time there became another chapter that ended too fast. Now, here we are again, Sacramento. Another team on shaky ground, another season slipping through the cracks. And once again, Schroeder's name is floating around as the easiest contract to move. It's almost like deja vu. 9 teams in 5 seasons, that's no coincidence. It's a pattern that says everything about how unstable his journey has been. Everywhere he goes, Schroeder ends up trapped in that gray zone, on teams that can't decide whether they're chasing the playoffs or hitting the reset button. And somehow, he's always the one left standing in the middle of that confusion, watching the story repeat itself one more time. And when the tension starts bubbling up, when a team finally makes its choice on which direction to go, it's always the same story. The veteran guard with the flexible contract ends up being the first one out the door. It's not just bad timing or plain bad luck. There's something way deeper going on with Dennis Schroeder as a player. because when he suits up for Germany, he transforms into something completely different. He's not just another point guard running the offense. He's the guy, the heartbeat of the entire squad, the one holding the rock when the game's on the line. He sets the rhythm, controls the tempo, and takes every ounce of pressure like it's nothing. Since 2022, there's been zero doubt. This is Schroeder's team, his court, his moment to command. And in that setting, he absolutely shines. You can see it in his calm under fire, hitting clutch shots, finishing strong, keeping his composure when the game tightens up. He doesn't hide from the pressure. He feeds off it. That energy, that belief, it doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from pure confidence in the system that trusts him completely. With Germany, Schroeder knows exactly who he is and where he stands. The offense flows through him. His voice matters. Every possession runs through his decisions, and that trust from the team fuels him to bring out his very best every single time he steps on the floor. He's in full control, and that brings out the version of Schroeder that everyone remembers, the fearless leader who refuses to fold. But when he comes back to the NBA, everything flips upside down. That same confidence, that same leadership energy that makes him special overseas suddenly becomes harder to fit in. In the league, Schroeder's rarely the main guy. He's almost never the one holding the keys to the offense. And yet, his style still screams leadership. He walks on the court with that same command, that same fire, like it's still his team to run. And that's exactly where things start to clash. His mindset doesn't always match the role he's given. The stats tell part of the story. His production stays steady. Points, assists, effort, all consistent. But his role keeps shrinking year after year. The gap between how Schroeder sees himself and how NBA teams see him keeps getting wider. He's caught between two worlds, the hero of Germany and the journeyman of the NBA. And that tug of war might just be the biggest battle of his entire career. That quiet tension, that clash between self-belief and limited opportunity, has become the invisible thread running through almost every chapter of Dennis Schroeder's career. It's never been about talent. He's already proven he's got that in spades. The real issue is fit, trust, in a league that doesn't quite know what to do with a player who still sees himself as the guy, the one meant to lead, not follow. When a 30-year-old vet ends up stuck on a mid-sized contract, playing fewer minutes, and watching losses stack up, the priorities in the front office shift fast. Suddenly, it's not about team chemistry or building continuity anymore. It's all about flexibility. Draft picks start sounding like treasure, cap space becomes the ultimate prize, and resetting turns into the new game plan. And that's exactly the cycle Schroeder keeps getting pulled into again and again. He's the kind of player who can really make a difference on a playoff hunting team. When the energy's high and the locker room's united, his fire lights things up. His scoring bursts, his spark, and his leadership can elevate any squad in a moment. But the second a franchise senses the season slipping away, everything flips overnight. Suddenly, Schroeder's no longer seen as a key piece. He becomes a movable asset, a name attached to trade talks, a contract used to bring back picks or clear a financial loom. That's the cold, hard side of the business. And Sacramento's just following the same pattern that's defined most of Schroeder's NBA story. What makes it hit even harder is remembering how different things once looked. Back when he first broke into the league with Atlanta, Schroeder's rise looked like something special. For 5 strong seasons, he climbed that ladder, starting as an electric spark plug off the bench. Quick, confident, and fearless with the ball in his hands. Each year, he leveled up, turning into a reliable starter who looked like a core piece of the Hawks' long-term future. He was producing, growing, earning respect, and it really seemed like he was building a home there. But then came the turning point, the arrival of Trae Young. The moment Trae landed, everything in Atlanta changed. The franchise flipped its entire identity overnight, choosing to rebuild around their new young star. And just like that, Schroeder went from being the future centerpiece to a part of the past. His time as the guy was over before he could even adjust. But then came his next chapter, Oklahoma City. And that stop turned out to be one of the best stretches of his entire career. In OKC, Schroeder found something close to balance, a system that fit his game, a team that actually trusted him, and a role that finally let his leadership shine without forcing him to fight for it every single night. Dennis Schroder hit one of the brightest stretches of his career in Oklahoma City. He became a 6th Man of the Year finalist, thriving in that slick 3-guard lineup alongside Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He played with freedom but still within structure, hitting big shots, pushing the tempo, and proving just how valuable he could be when the system actually clicked. That Thunder team wasn't even supposed to make any noise, but they shocked the whole league and pushed deep into the playoffs. Schroeder's energy was electric. He brought toughness, speed, and control all at once. But just when it looked like everything was finally lining up, the rebuild came crashing in. The Thunder front office shifted gears fast, stacking draft picks and building their next franchise identity around Shai. Once that plan was in motion, Schroeder, steady, efficient, and proven, suddenly didn't fit the new direction anymore. It didn't matter that he was producing at a high level or that his chemistry with the team was flawless. The timeline had changed, and he wasn't part of it. That moment became another page in his long story. Always good enough to matter, but always left behind the second team start chasing the future. Then came what everyone thought would be the turning point, his time with the Los Angeles Lakers. This was supposed to be the run that brought Dennis Schroder the stability he'd been chasing for years. He fit their system perfectly, bringing that defensive intensity, sharp ball control, and fearless energy that helped keep the Lakers competitive deep into the season. Everything looked set for him to finally lock in his long-term place. But then came the decision, the one that still follows him to this day. The Lakers offered Schroeder a 4-year, $84 million contract extension, a deal that could have secured his future and his status in the league. But Schroeder made a bold move. He turned it down, betting on himself to earn even more in free agency. That single gamble flipped his entire career overnight. When the offseason came, the offers didn't roll in the way he expected. His market value dropped fast, and instead of landing the huge multi-year contract he gambled for, he had to settle for a 1-year deal with the Boston Celtics, a short-term patch instead of a cornerstone role. From that moment forward, teams stopped viewing Dennis Schroeder as a long-term building block. He went from future piece to temporary fix, the veteran guard you plug in while searching for the next franchise star. It was a harsh shift, one that showed just how fast this league can turn its back, even on a player who's still got plenty left to give. Boston eventually flipped Dennis Schroeder into a trade chip, sending him to Houston just as the Rockets were diving headfirst into a full-on youth rebuild. And once again, he found himself stuck in a situation with no real future, a veteran surrounded by young prospects, trying to keep things steady in a system that didn't line up with his ambitions. Still, he didn't fold. After Houston, Schroeder made his way back to Los Angeles for another run with the Lakers, determined to prove that he still belonged in the spotlight. And to his credit, he delivered big time. He played a key role in helping the Lakers reach the Western Conference Finals, showing up in clutch moments, locking in on defense, and keeping the offense under control when it mattered most. But once the offseason rolled around, reality hit hard. The salary cap tightened, money got tight, and the Lakers had no choice but to let him walk again. Even when everything seemed to be going right, that stability he worked so hard for kept slipping just out of reach. And here's the wildest part. Through all of these moves, his game has barely changed. His numbers stay consistent no matter what jersey he's wearing. Whether he's a starter or coming off the bench, Schroeder still plays with that same lead guard mindset, the one controlling the pace, running the show, and dictating how the game flows. This season in Sacramento, nearly 40% of his offensive plays have come from him running the pick and roll, his signature move. Last year in Detroit, just over 40% again. Even back in Golden State, a system built on constant motion, passing, and spacing, Schroeder's instincts still took over. He kept leaning into those same pick and roll sets that define his rhythm and style. That's the essence of who Dennis Schroeder is as a player. A floor general who takes charge, controls the tempo, and trusts his own reads above all else. No matter where he goes or what system he lands in, he sticks to what he knows best, leading the offense his way. And that confidence, that self-trust, it's both his greatest strength and the reason his career keeps riding this wild, unpredictable wave from one city to the next. His numbers paint a story that doesn't quite match the roles he's been given. Because even when teams see him as a short-term piece, Dennis Schroder keeps playing like a franchise cornerstone, refusing to shrink his game for anyone. Dennis Schroder's always been trusted to run the show, to control the tempo, direct every possession, and set the tone like a true floor general. But here's where things start to get real. The problem isn't how often he's got the ball in his hands, it's what happens when he does. The efficiency just doesn't match the volume, and that gap says everything. To really see how striking the difference is, look at the league's top-tier guards. Take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning MVP and the full-blown engine of Oklahoma City's offense. Even he runs fewer pick-and-rolls proportionally than Dennis Schroeder. That's wild. Considering Shai is literally the guy in OKC, the offense revolves around him completely. And the same thing shows up when you look at other elite guards. Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, all of them dominate the ball, but with a twist. They're just a little more selective and way more efficient when they do it. Take Brunson, for example. He's sitting around the 91st percentile as a pick-and-roll ball handler. Smooth, calculated, and deadly efficient. He turns those screens into buckets or clean setups with surgical precision. Shai, he's even higher, up around the 96th percentile, turning nearly every pick and roll into a scoring chance or forcing defenses to collapse instantly. Luka and Mitchell, both chilling comfortably in the high 80s, consistent, reliable, and unstoppable, night after night. These are players who've earned the right to dominate the ball, not just because of their skill, but because their production backs it up every single game. Now here's the contrast. Schroeder's running the same kind of actions just as often, but the results aren't quite hitting that elite mark. This season, he's hovering around the 57th percentile in pick-and-roll efficiency. Respectable, sure, but nowhere near the level of the stars he's trying to match. It proves he's solid and dependable, but not the kind of guy who can single-handedly carry an offense with relentless control the way those top names do. And it's not just the one-time dip either. The pattern's been there. Last season looked almost identical. During his short run with Golden State, things actually dropped even more. His pick-and-roll efficiency slid into the low 30s. That's a steep fall for a player who thrives on rhythm and command. It's the story of Schroeder's NBA life, a guard who plays like a franchise centerpiece, but whose numbers keep telling teams he's not quite that guy. His stint in Golden State showed just how out of sync his style was with their motion-heavy system. It wasn't about effort or skill. Nobody questioned Schroeder's work ethic or talent. It was all about fit. The rhythm he brings, the pace he plays with, just doesn't always blend with every team's philosophy. And when that mismatch starts showing up in the numbers, front offices can't ignore it, no matter how hard he competes or how much heart he leaves on the floor. That right there, that's the core of Dennis Schroeder's basketball dilemma. His game shines brightest when he's got full control, when the ball runs through him every trip down the floor, when he's the one setting the tone and dictating the rhythm. But here's the catch. The efficiency doesn't always match the workload. When a team builds its system entirely around Schroeder, the ceiling tends to lower just a bit. But when they scale back his touches, he struggles to blend into the natural flow. It's a tricky balance, one that coaches around the league have tried to solve for years, but almost nobody's figured out. That's exactly what Draymond Green meant when he said Schroeder plays a different kind of basketball. It wasn't an insult, not even close. He wasn't calling him a bad player. He was pointing out that Schroeder's style is built on control, not chaos. Schroeder plays a version of basketball where the point guard is the conductor, controlling every beat, every rhythm, every shift in tempo. It's a throwback style, one that demands everything flow through him. And that's where things start getting complicated, because for Dennis, that control isn't rooted in ego. It's rooted in identity. He's got every reason to believe in himself. This is a guy who's carried Germany to championship glory, the undisputed leader of his national team. He's led his country to the top, winning both the World Cup and Eurobasket, while being the best player on the floor every single time. He's hit clutch shots with national pride on the line, delivered under the brightest lights, and proven that when the pressure's at its peak, he won't back down. That kind of confidence doesn't fade away once he steps into an NBA locker room. It stays with him. It shapes how he plays, how he leads, and how he carries himself every single game. Schroeder genuinely believes he's that guy. And truthfully, For a big part of his career, he was. That mindset, powerful, unshakable, and deeply rooted, is what makes Dennis Schroeder one of the most fascinating cases in basketball today. A player who's caught between two worlds, one where he's the ultimate leader, and another where he's just another name in the rotation. At this point, it's not even about whether Dennis Schroeder can still play. Everyone knows he can. The real question is whether any team can finally give him the right fit, because let's be honest, the writing's already on the wall in Sacramento. A trade feels inevitable. It's not a matter of if, but where. The only mystery left now is which franchise will take the next swing at trying to truly unlock his game. And one possible landing spot actually makes a lot of sense: the Orlando Magic. They've already built a clear pecking order around Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, and here's where it gets interesting. Schroeder and Wagner already have chemistry from years together on the German national team. That connection could instantly translate on the court. Orlando's young core is stacked with talent, size, and athleticism, but what they still lack at times is structure. They need a veteran floor general who can slow things down when the game gets chaotic. Someone who can guide possessions when the pace starts spiraling out of control. That's exactly where Schroeder's experience and rhythm could shine. He could bring that control, that tempo, and that leadership spark the Magic have been missing. In a setup like that, he wouldn't have to carry the entire franchise or reshape the offense. His role would finally match his strengths. Schroeder could step in as the steady hand, keeping things organized, dictating the pace, and bringing that burst of energy whenever the team needs a lift off the bench. His pick-and-roll game would fit perfectly in short, focused bursts, giving Orlando quick scoring options without slowing down their young stars. And defensively, that's where it really clicks. Schroeder's on-ball defense aligns beautifully with the gritty, hard-nosed identity the Magic have been building. He plays with edge, with pride, and with that relentless chip on his shoulder that the Orlando locker room could feed off of. Beyond the numbers, though, this could finally be the kind of environment that embraces who he is instead of fighting against it. Schroeder's fiery personality, his leadership energy, and his world-class experience could blend smoothly with a team that actually values veteran presence instead of pushing back against it. He's seen it all, winning on the global stage, grinding through trades, getting overlooked, and still finding ways to prove himself again and again. And in Orlando, all of that experience could finally be used the right way. This could be the spot where his confidence, his control, and his energy bring real structure instead of tension. But even with that glimmer of hope, one massive question still hangs over his entire career. Is Dennis Schroeder just a victim of bad timing, always landing on teams that can't decide what they want to be? Is he bully, NDC, Dallas cocky? What do you think he should do about it? Or is there something deeper? Something about his play style and mindset that makes him tough to fit into today's NBA for the long haul? That's the debate that defines him. Is he a misunderstood leader? A guy who just needs the right system to truly shine? Or is he a player built for short, fiery bursts of brilliance before moving on to the next stop? What do you think? Does Dennis Schroeder deserve one last real shot with the right team, maybe even in Orlando? Or is this just who he is as a player? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you've been vibing with this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more raw hoops talk, deep dives, and global basketball stories. Peace.